Hello, Lensmates, and welcome. It's Book Lens. Find a comfortable spot, maybe lie back and just listen. Because tonight we're going to gently unravel a story of revenge that's so perfectly planned it plays out like a grandmaster's chess game. We're diving deep into the film 11, a thriller where every single move is calculated. And the final checkmate, well, it's absolutely chilling.
Before we really get into it, it's worth knowing how much this film floored people. This one comment from Reddit really says it all. The climax twist was mind-blowing. So as we walk through this story together, just remember, we're building towards a reveal that is truly something else. So let's get right to the heart of it. The film gives us this incredible, mind-bending paradox. It's the story of a man who joins the police force, dedicating his life to law enforcement, all for one single hidden purpose: to hunt down a serial killer who is him. It's a long, patient game of revenge played from both sides of the board.
All right, let's start at the beginning. Section 1, the perfect murder puzzle. Just like in a great chess match, our story starts with a very bold opening move. A series of murders that are so bizarre and cruel, they have the police completely lost. The killer's method, wow. It is just defined by its cold intelligence and its cruelty. He doesn't just kill people, he specifically targets twins. And in this truly twisted move, he actually tricks one sibling into unknowingly causing the death of their own twin. Then, the bodies are burned so badly they can't be identified, leaving behind just one single clue connecting all the crimes: a place called Twin Birds Matriculation School. So, to solve a puzzle this tangled, the department calls in their absolute best player, ACP Aravindan. He's your classic super cop, He's brilliant, he's determined, and he has a reputation for solving impossible cases. He's supposed to be the force of order against all this chaos. And that leads us to the central mystery of the whole first act. It doesn't matter what the police try, it doesn't matter how smart Aravindan is, the killer always seems to know what they're going to do next. He's anticipating their every move. So how on earth is that possible?
And that question brings us to Section 2, the game's tragic origin. To really understand the why behind this whole elaborate game, we have to look back in time. Because every move, every single calculated step, it's all rooted in one heartbreaking event from the past. So we learn about these two twin brothers, Benjamin and Francis. They were completely inseparable. Now, Francis had a severe phobia of the dark. In just a sickening act of schoolyard bullying, some of his classmates thought it would be a funny prank to lock him in a dark chemistry lab. The terror triggered a fatal seizure, and his brother Benjamin couldn't save him. After that, consumed by grief, he just vanished.
And you can really see here the kind of bond that was broken. Benjamin was the protector, a chess prodigy. Francis was more of the fragile soul, a top student who really leaned on his brother. They were two halves of one whole. And when Francis died, a huge part of Benjamin died right along with him. And just like that, the motive becomes crystal clear. This isn't just random violence. It is a meticulously planned act of revenge against the 10 classmates Benjamin holds responsible for his brother's death. Every murder is just another piece being methodically removed from the board.
Okay, deep breath, because now we're at Section 3. This is the part of the movie that had everyone talking, the Grand Master's identity. We finally understand the why, so now it's time to uncover the who, the master player who's been controlling every single piece. The whole investigation has been this massive hunt for a ghost from the past, for this grieving brother named Benjamin. So after all this buildup, who is he? Just think for a second about the two main figures in this game. On one side, we've got ACP Aravindan, the brilliant detective. On the other, the brilliant mastermind killer. One is methodical and resolute, the other is methodical and patient. One knows every single detail of the case, and the other somehow knows every single move the police are about to make. They're like perfect mirror images of each other.
And that's because they are. ACP Aravindan is Benjamin. The man leading the investigation is the very same killer he's supposed to be hunting. He's been chasing himself this entire time.
And you might be thinking, how could anyone possibly pull that off? Well, the film gives us a really clever explanation. As a kid, Benjamin was a chess genius who didn't just have one backup plan. He would play multiple strategies at once, usually by playing against himself, learning to think from both sides of the board. And that's exactly what he did with his revenge.
I mean, the sheer scale of his plan is just breathtaking. He didn't just wake up one day and decide to get revenge. He became a police officer for the sole purpose of carrying it out. He engineered the car accident that put the first detective out of commission just so he could take over the case. He controlled all the information, he turned a fellow officer into a decoy, and he built the perfect cover, being the one man who could never possibly be the suspect.
And that brings us to our final section, checkmate. Now that we know Aravindan is Benjamin, the game enters its last tragic phase. But, as we're about to see, even when he's facing defeat, this Grandmaster is still the one in control.
He actually allows himself to get caught. It's not a mistake, it's a strategic move. He leaves behind his lighter, a deliberate clue, because he knows it will lead straight to his arrest. And why would he do that? Because his 10th and final target is already locked up in prison. Getting arrested isn't his downfall. It's his ticket inside to get to the final piece on a board. He completes his mission, and then, in his ultimate act of control, he decides exactly how his own story will end. After he kills his final target in that prison, Benjamin takes a poison that he had prepared all along. His entire life's mission, the one thing that has driven him since he was a boy, is finally done. He has avenged his brother. And this one line explains everything about his final choice. His entire identity, his whole reason for being, was tied to his role as his brother's protector. Once his brother was gone, and once the revenge for him was complete, his purpose was fulfilled. There was simply nothing left. But the story gives us one last morally complex act. Before he dies, Benjamin arranges to have his heart donated to S.I. Manohar, the very same officer he manipulated and used as a decoy. And his final wish is simply to be buried next to Francis, finally reuniting the two brothers. And so the film leaves us with this really heavy question. What Benjamin did was monstrous, there's no doubt. But it was all born from a tragedy where the system completely failed to deliver any kind of justice for his brother. And it forces us to wonder about that thin line between justice and vengeance, and what happens when that line just completely disappears. Thank you for listening, Lensmates.